I know that human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
Hello and welcome to the Spoilt Milk Movie Podcast. Here at Spoilt Milk, we like to discuss, destroy and dissect guilty pleasure movies and decide whether they're truly spoilt milk or if they've ascended into a fine, luxurious cheese. So without further ado, here we go.
Warning, this podcast is full of spoilers for the title feature and there's bad language from the start. If you've never seen the film or you're offended by bad language, you have been warned.
So hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Spoilt Milk Movie Podcast. Today we're going to be discussing Blade 2, the middle Blade film from the Blade trilogy. It's from 2002, the Wesley Snipes film. And today I'm joined by two of my great friends. We've got the Hobo. So the Hobo has braved all these snowy weather conditions to come out on this great St. Paddy's Day to find some shelter. How are you, Hobo?
Oh, I'm good. The Guinness kept me warm in my self-made igloo, which was made out of things that I actually stolen and not ice.
Have you warmed up your Guinness?
No. God, no.
And then to the right of me, just outside of the shot, we've got Catty. Catty, how are you today? I'm great. Oh, good, Catty. Yeah, how are you feeling? I got that head stuck in a garage, like. Oh, right, okay then. So you're having a good time tonight? Yeah, right. Looking forward to talking about Blade 2.
I don't think this is fooling anyone.
What are you talking about? Right, okay, so for the first time in Spoilt Milk history, Catty couldn't make it tonight. She did send a message to apologise. I'm going to play this little audio clip now to say what she said.
Boss for being a shit bitch.
So I'll play that again.
Boss for being a shit bitch.
That was soz for being a shit bitch. One last time.
Shit bitch.
Just
Shit bitch.
Shit bitch. Yeah, she said sorry for being a shit bitch. She couldn't make it to the podcast tonight, so it's just me and the Hobo. So there might be points where it's just silence and we'll fill them in later at a point with some kind of like noise. Give me your best silence noise.
That's quiet. It gets in my box.
So the Hobo and I discussed what film we were going to cover tonight, and you actually suggested that we should do Blade 2. Why did you suggest that, Hobo?
Because Blade 2 is directed by none other than Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, right, okay then. So why is that relevant?
Well, he's a recent Oscar winner with The Shape of Water.
He is a recent Oscar winner.
And Pacific Rim 2 is coming out, which the first one was by him. He's just all over the place.
He is, yeah, he's all over the place. And also, we just had the release of Black Panther as well. So we've got a Marvel film with a lead character who is a black male. The original.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that kicked off all the comic book movies that we know and love now. If we didn't have the original Blade movie, not the sequel, I guess, I don't think we would have got the X-Men movies all in black leather instead of
do you reckon?
shiny. Oh yeah, that's
do you know
definitely.
You're just saying that now. I'm like, yeah. Do you know what? That's a good point.
Blade not only kicked off the comic book revolution, but also kicked off all comic book movies in like the early 2000s being in black leather.
Yeah, black leather. Because the original Blade film, because we'll go on to Blade shortly, and there was parts of it that I was thinking, oh, this is heavily influenced by The Matrix. But actually, Blade was 98, so the year before The Matrix, the original Blade. So yeah, I think you might be onto something with this all black leather, S&M.
Trench coats. In the first one, he wore a lot of long trench coats.
Do you know what, my brother, when he was younger, got a leather jacket, a leather coat, like one of the ones down to down to his like calves or whatever, because of like the Blade and Matrix thing. And then I inherited it like years after when it had like gone, no one was wearing it. And I thought I was like cool as balls.
I think in order to wear a long trench coat, you need to be at least 6'3" or more. I think you need to be tall as fuck.
Whereas I am 5'10". My brother's shorter.
Yeah. No, I mean, I always wanted to wear a long trench coat, but I just went, it's not going to work. Same with the cool hat that goes with it, kind of like the Undertaker hat from wrestling.
Yeah.
Again, you need to be tall as fuck to work, because it kind of rounds you out as instead of you being a tall, slim person, it makes you look like you've got broader shoulders and it makes you look wider, where if you're short, it just makes you look stubby and useless.
Yeah, I don't want to look stubby and useless. So before we move, we've just rattled on about Blade 2, but we've actually got a top 3, which weirdly is going to now be a top 2. I also thought about saying, shall we put 2 ideas forward and have a 4?
Yeah, let's do that.
Shall we do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Right,
yeah.
okay. I don't know if I'm ready for that, actually. No, I've
I'm
suggested it. Our top 3, 2, 4 was sent in by a gentleman.
Is this
called-
5? 5 will make you get down.
called Peter Daykin. Yeah, Peter Daykin, who, to be honest, now I'm saying it, Peter sounds like putter. Daykin sounds like Dickin. Like, what are you putting a dick in? What are you putting your dick in, Pete? Come on, answer us. Let us know.
I was just wondering, because, like, last names come from somewhere, like Smiths were Smiths, like Backsmiths. Daykin, like...
Maybe his ancestors ran a daycare centre.
That, I mean...
Or
yeah.
put their dick in things.
I think that seems more...
Yeah, you can't, like, walk around being like, hi, I'm Peter Daykin.
But surely then that would be the most common last name that you'd have, because, I mean, a lot of people put the dick in stuff.
Is that where Charles Dickens got it from?
That's definitely where Charles Dickens got his name from.
Chuck Dickens.
Chuck Dickens.
Constantly putting his dick in stuff.
Chuck in his Dickens.
So, well, okay, it's Pete Daykin, and he wanted to know what were our favourite drug-taking scenes.
Yeah.
So, from all of cinema, what are our favourite scenes where people are taking drugs? So, what do you want to do? Do you want to do a...
Let's do, like, one each. Let's back and forth.
We'll do
Play
one
like
each,
tennis.
and then we'll throw out our, like, nearly made it.
Okay.
So, what's your one?
Right, I'm to serve in this tennis
Yeah,
analogy.
let's serve it.
I'm going to serve up. Well, the first thing I immediately thought of, and I almost didn't want to do it because it's so obvious, is Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, I wouldn't have gone for Requiem for a Dream.
What?
I do like Aronofsky, but it's my least known of his films.
Really? This is, I mean, it's a great film on, like, drugs overall, not just things like heroin and stuff, but it also covers things like dieting pills and coffee.
Paracetamol,
It covers
ibuprofen.
general addiction to things. That's the main cause of it. And it has the drug taking scenes are. I think the best way to describe it to you is Edgar Wright-esque.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where it's like a quick shot and it's all about the audio. Exactly. It is that through and through. And it's
If
really...
you didn't hear that was...
And it wasn't a TV malfunctioning. It was drug taking.
I'm like the Michael Winslow of this podcast. You know, the guy from Police Academy.
Yeah. You just ruined the illusion, though, because podcast listeners thought you were actually taking drugs.
Right, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, yeah, I'll go and take some now.
But yeah, it's exactly that. And this was done before anyone really did it, especially that mix of, like, maybe people did like close-ups of these drugs, or they did like the audio effects, but it was a good mashup of those two. And I also, like I said, I liked it because it didn't just focus on,
Well, who's taking the drugs in this scene?
So the Requiem for a
Remind me,
Dream
'cause it's been a long
is
time.
split amongst 4 stories. So there's 4 different people in 4 different aspects, and so
Got Jared Leto or Leto. We've got Marlon Wayans, haven't we?
yep.
Oh,
You've got
Jennifer Connelly.
yep, and then
who's the older lady?
I can't remember her name.
No, I can't. That shit.
But yeah, it really is. Weird. But no, yeah, and they're the 4 people going on these different journeys, but also they converge in a way because Jared Leto's mum is the old lady who's addicted to like diet pills and TV shows and coffee, and that's her addiction. And you see that along with isolation and what drives her down her path, and you get these other 3 paths and where they lead. It's very interesting film. It's quite dark. Has an ending that I really
God,
didn't
yeah.
expect as well. But yeah, that's my.
So what's your specific scene though? Is it?
It's those in between moments, because it uses those as sort of transitions all the time. So it's not necessarily one person. It's it's just like it starts on one person, but it uses those to transition to another person. So you almost don't. It tries to blur the lines to almost join these people while they're separated.
Right. Okay. So that's your main choice.
Oh, I don't know, mate. Yeah, mate. Yeah, no.
No. What? Right,
I don't know.
okay, then.
I don't know. I had a hard time with this one.
Right. Well, if you're not going for your main choice, then I'm not going for
Yeah,
my
don't go for your
main
main
choice.
choice,
Then.
yeah.
So my backup choice was 21 Jump Street.
Oh, is that the first one or the second
The
one?
first one. So
Okay.
22 Jump Street's the second. It does something similar.
Yeah.
But,
I can't remember the first one.
So the first one, if listeners, if you can't remember, we've got Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, pretending to be youths in a high school, but they're clearly like in their early 30s or late 20s.
Quite clearly.
And they get some drugs off Dave Franco, I believe it is at this point, and they take the drugs, and you start to see the side effects of it. And they're with Rob Riggle, do you remember he's the gym teacher, and he pulls them up, and he's like,
yeah, he likes to shout.
yeah, pow, pow. And he pulls them up in like because I think they're out in the hall and they haven't got a hall pass or something. And he's talking to them, and I can't remember the specifics because it wasn't my main choice. I didn't look it up. But like his eyebrows start to move off his face and they become a mustache.
Yeah.
And then his head turns into an ice cream and starts melting. But they go through the stages. There's like 4 stages of like, I think it's like overconfidence and things like that. I remember Channing Tatum goes into the music room and hits a cymbal or kicks it or something. But there's just a really good bit where he's like, they're sticking the tongues out and like that. And he's like, stop doing that. And he grabs his tongue. And then Channing Tatum sticks it and he's like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's not my main choice, but that was one that I was just like, I'm proper on the edge.
Well, that's one that I think if we were going for like most accurate, it'd be up there, because there's a difference in like favourite scene and then most accurate. And that one felt really close to a bit. I know there's quite a bit, but in Fear and Loathing,
yes.
You know that one bit where he looks at the carpet and it's very subtly wiggling.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. I went, "Fuck!" My first one, so I'm going to go with that but I wasn't sure if this counts. Big Lebowski.
Yes.
So there's two main bits, sequences that they do. Mm-hmm. One where he gets knocked out and he has this dream of him flying and stuff, but that's him knocked out.
The
it's just a dream.
bowling scene.
No, the bowling scene is the other one. Yeah. So Big Lebowski just dropped the Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
Just dropped in.
Kenny Loggins in that Footloose.
No,
just to be like, Footloose.
Is it him who did? I know he did Danger Zone.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he
did. Yeah, no, Kenny Rogers just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
That was nice.
That whole bowling scene was like trippy as fuck.
And isn't Julianne Moore wearing some kind of like horned helmet?
Viking helmet, yeah.
So what do you love about that bit then?
It's just, it fits very well within the movie. Like a lot of those sort of things that he's seeing are, I mean, obviously bowling, he's a massive bowling fan, so that's where his dream massively takes place. But all these things with Julianne Moore and stuff, it's things that it's clearly like his perception of things that have happened. And he's incorporating into this really fantasized dream or hallucination. Because at first you think it's a dream because it's much like the dream sequence when he gets knocked out. But then, like, after the fun part of the bowling sequence ends and he goes down the aisle of this bowling aisle, it goes to black. Then you see a woman with like her tits out just falling. But then it cuts to these 3 German sort of nihilists in red like condom suits with massive scissors chasing him.
God, I need to watch that film again.
And it just turns from this really happy hallucination to this really like it's
Drug nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. It turns to a proper drug nightmare, and they're like chasing him with these massive scissors, and that's when it comes out of the dream hallucination to him running down, because he's running away from these massive scissor red condom people, to running down the middle of the street and getting arrested. And I was like,
yeah,
that was a perfect transition of like from him like being passed out from having this dodgy drink to going, I loved it. And it gave you both a feeling of the character, but also, like sort of, cause the Big Lebowski is a bit of a trippy film in general. You don't know where the threads are going, but it's kind of focused your threads. Your thought, like, you knew he was into Julianne Moore, so it wasn't just, cause she's very aggressive in that, so you don't know if he's into it. But that dream tells you he's into her. But he hasn't, and even though he's really relaxed, you think, oh, why does he care about these nihilists? He really does. In the back of his head, he cares about these nihilists coming and...
So we're getting a little insight into the real Lebowski.
Exactly.
Oh, God, I really need to watch that film again.
Great movie.
It's such a good film. I've seen it like 4 or 5 times, but just not in about 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
It was a big favourite. Used to go play bowling all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, loads. And my mate he'd always call himself the Dude, and I'd always be Roy Munson whenever I went like the Kingpin reference.
Nice.
So have you got anything
Kingpin.
else to say on the Big Lebowski?
No, that's it. I think I've spoken enough. I'm sending a lob your way, so you gotta...
Right, okay. Well, I've dropped the ball and I put it in my shorts. So the choice that I picked, and I don't know if you thought about it as well, but I really considered Wolf of Wall Street, but it didn't go in there.
Oh, yeah.
Was actually...
Hang up the phone.
was actually in Bruges. So, I mean, again, we're talking about Oscars recently and Martin McDonagh, but I love the scene in Bruges when Colin Farrell steals the cocaine and goes into the upstairs room in that bar with the... I mean, he refers to him as a dwarf in the film, so I'll refer to him as a dwarf. I'm not sure if it's the correct term. But they go up and him, Ken, the midget character and those hookers are there. And the really good thing about that scene is it's one of those perfect Martin McDonagh scenes where you're laughing your head off 1 minute and then you're like gutted the next.
Yeah.
Because they're taking the cocaine, and I've never had cocaine, but from what I've heard, it's very lifelike. They're talking like just utter bollocks, and the dwarf character talks about how it starts with Colin Farrell picking up a thread from earlier in the film where he's talking about midgets committing suicide, and it just cuts to him talking about, I'm sure R2-D2 did it, or the guy from Time Bandits. He's talking about how midgets commit suicide and asks him if he's ever thought of it. And then
Oh, yeah.
the midget character starts talking about this war that's going to break out.
Oh,
and he's
God.
like, it's going to be a war, man, betwing the blacks and the whites.
The race war.
Yeah.
Just discussion is amazing.
Yeah, and then Ray's poking at him, like, verbally, saying, like, what about the Pakistanis and what about the Vietnamese? And he's like, they'll be fighting with the blacks, man. And he's like, well, I'm going to fight with the blacks then if they've got the Vietnamese. And it's one of those things that you listen to it and you're on the kind of edge of your seat because you're like, people shouldn't be talking about these types of things in films. No one really writes about this apart from McDonagh. He seems to just get away with it. But then it cuts to Ray, not Ray, Ken talking about his wife, and he married a black woman, and she's married, she was murdered by a white man in 76 or something. And he's like, so which side am I on?
Yeah, his gravitas, his like performance makes that entire like.
I don't know why Brendan Gleeson should be considered as one of like the best actors of his generation.
Just the way he delivers that, just literally the line like, which side am I on? Like, I fucking I forgot about that scene.
It's great. Like, if you ever speak to my brother about it, he'll tell you about how the scene where Ken's on the phone with what's his name's character, Ray Fiennes' character. He thinks that's the best written scene in cinema.
Does that be one way, like, Ray Fiennes, like, shouts at the phone and then his missus like...
But again, though, it goes from comedy to the bit where he's like... Well, we'll discuss that another time. But for me, that scene, again, perfectly sums up Martin McDonagh and how he can be so edgy, push boundaries, so hilariously funny, and then just cut to the heart of it in like a space of 3 or 4 minutes.
That's him. He also did he do Seven Psychopaths? And he did the newest 3 Billboards.
Yeah, so he did 3 Billboards.
The other Oscar winner.
Yeah, so we're right on topic here. So yeah, definitely for me, the drug scene in Bruges has to be in there. Okay. So our top 2 is Big Lebowski and In Bruges.
Yeah, definitely.
With a little beeline for, so mine was 21 Jump Street and yours Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, Requiem for a Dream, I feel that needs to be in there.
Nice, so Hobo, we're done for our top 3s, 2s, 4s, all of the
numbers.
All the
numbers, yeah.
And we'll be back shortly to talk Blade 2.
In Blade 3, Blade's getting laid, I'm telling you. He's getting something. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna open the movie up with me and just like 4 or 5 mommies from all nationalities, all over the world. You know, Blade the Panther.
Right, okay, so welcome back to episode 10 of the Spoilt Milk movie podcast. Again, I am joined by the Hobo, as always, but no Catty. Just say hello again for me, Hobo.
No.
So today we're going to be discussing Blade 2 from 2002, the follow-up to Blade, the Marvel film.
That sounds like you had more. Follow-up to Blade and relax.
The prequel to Blade Trinity, if you will. So we're talking about Blade 2. Hobo, what's it about?
Oh, no! You didn't prepare me for this.
Catty normally does this bit.
We should have got her to pre-record her... Damn! Okay, let me just think for a sec. So, Blade 2 is about Blade, a vampire hunter, daywalker, so a vampire can walk in sunlight.
Does he have a proper name? Is he just like Blade? Was he... Because he was born a daywalker, wasn't he? He's not called like Pete.
Well, from what I remember in the first film, because I didn't watch it before this, like, there is a flashback where he was just a legit kid. But he was, well, actually, no, he would have a proper name. No, his mum died in childbirth, giving birth to him. So he would definitely have a last proper name.
Yeah.
But he won't necessarily have a first name because
What do you imagine that his last name is?
Blade. Like, just naturally. It's just a coincidence.
Well, like, his first name's Blade and his last name's Blade.
His mum was
Blade.
called, like, Sonia Blade. Oh, shit.
His mum's called Sonia Blade.
His mum's from Mortal Kombat.
Right, okay. Is that a Mortal Kombat character?
Yeah, I've just realised that's why Sonia came to that head. But yeah, so, Blade, a vampire hunter by nature who's able to hunt vampires during the day because he's immune to daylight, has to team up, wait for it, with vampires.
What?
Yeah, first movie, he killed them all. He, murdered them.
Wait, stop. What are the benefits to a vampire hunter being able to hunt vampires in the day?
Well, it means he literally can just, use sunlight against them.
But they're not going to be there.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got all of their strengths and none of their weaknesses. That's
a straight line from the film.
Yeah. But I mean, they can be hiding out, sleeping, and then he just comes and opens the curtains and kills them.
Right.
He does a bit of if in the book in I Am Legend, that's essentially what he does. He goes around and opens curtains.
Or Lost Boys.
Oh yeah, fuck! I should have made the actual movie reference. That would have been better.
So Blade 2 picks up where Blade finishes.
Kind of. So Blade finished where he defeated a guy called Deacon Frost, who was trying to take over the old vampires.
Yeah.
But he hadn't defeated all the vampires, and he went, "I'm going to hunt them all down," and he ended up with them in Moscow. And he's about to take them on. This one picks up still in America.
No, isn't he in Prague?
When this film starts?
Yeah, I'm sure this film starts.
No, he's not in Prague.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So when it starts, our main bad guy, Jared Nomak, is in Prague. but he's not. That it's just in America. And so what it is, the synopsis, I should get back to it. The synopsis
my
is
bad.
a vampire hunter has to team up with vampires to take on the Reapers, which are this new strain of like super vampire that are currently hunting vampires. However, the risk is that once they finish hunting vampires, they'll hunt all of humanity. And these are so much strong. I mean, they're strong enough to take out vampires, and vampires are worried about them, that humanity's got no chance. So Blade has to team up with the vampires to take them out.
So this film starts with the villain. Any sequel that starts with the villain always reminds me of Batman Returns. For some reason, when I think about sequels starting with a villain, I always think about Batman Returns with Baby Penguin grabbing the cat and then them throwing the
And what's
baby
your
into the
feeling
water.
of Batman Returns? Do you think it's a good sequel or a bad sequel?
Love it.
Okay.
I absolutely love Batman Returns.
So-
But that seemed to be kind of the way forward to go for a sequel. So your first one, you start about your hero, you tell your hero's story.
Yeah.
So second film starts, you know your hero, we'll start with the villain. And again, we know Blade at this point, even though he probably said 10 lines in the first film. So we'll start with what's his name? Jared Nomak.
Yeah.
So he's in Prague. And he's going to a blood bank.
Yeah, he's like he looks like a homeless.
One of your sort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he looks a bit better dressed than me.
You need to just draw a line down your chin, get that little splitty thing going.
That's how I eat cats.
So it starts with him. He looks like he's up shit creek because he goes into that little room that's got a nice little log fire.
And he's
Lovely log fire.
And he's acting very desperate at this point. He's like, what's going on? Sort of. I just wanted to give blood. I just want to make some money from blood.
Yeah, he looks like a bit of a smack rat.
Yeah. Smack rat is a good term. I've never heard that.
And then he goes and sits in some kind of chair. Do you know what? Actually, a bit off topic, but this set was quite a Guillermo del Toro type of set with the high ceilings, long room, fireplace. But I must say, out of all of his films that I've seen, this was the least GDT.
It's the most commercial looking from what I recall. I don't necessarily think I've seen absolutely all of them. I've seen the majority of them, and this seems the most, like, if someone told me before I knew that he directed it, I'd be like, I could see it, but I wouldn't have necessarily assumed it. Like,
yeah,
it's definitely got his hallmark, but also he kept it well within the universe that was set up in the first one, which he didn't direct.
Oh yeah, so the first film was directed by it's by a chap, the guy who made League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, and that's about it.
Yeah, so he made like 4 films. To be honest, I really like the first Blade film.
Yeah.
I think the first Blade film. And Stephen Norrington apparently.
He
his name is.
turned directing this one down. Like,
Oh really?
it was him. Yeah, that's what I read.
So he directed 4 films. He made a film called Death Machine in '94.
Not seen.
Followed it up with Blade, which again, a good film for your second film. Like Blade is a good second film. Made another film called The Last Minute, not really sure. And then followed that up with The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Which was such dog dirt, such absolute dog's eggs.
You know
that
what?
He never made a film again.
I would love to revisit that, because I knew it wasn't necessarily the greatest film of all time, but I remember enjoying watching it. So
Let's do it.
I think
Another
it
time.
may be one of those ones like what an idiot I was, but I don't remember it being so horrific.
Okay, well, maybe that's for another time then. Maybe that's one that we should cover, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So Stephen Norrington made the first Blade film. Well accomplished, good film, looks nice, decent enough villain.
He did a good amount of world building.
Definitely.
And he didn't go for generic character. Like, he set up Whistler, who was a great father figure, and had a great death in the first film.
Yeah, so that actually, again, that brings us back into where the film starts. So we learn from which was really nice, actually, when we were picking up Blade 2, a nice little recap at the start. Hi, I'm Blade. And he's like, I've been hunting Whistler.
I was worrying about, I don't think that was necessary. Like, you don't get that in films now. In like franchise movies where you got the sequence of, you don't get that because you don't need it. And I actually thought I was a little bit ham-fisted.
No, I was just like, it was nice because I was like, I ain't got time to watch Blade.
Okay.
I was like, I can't really remember it, but I was like, thank you for that one. It might as well have just said previously on Lost at the beginning.
Yeah, it was a previously on Lost.
So he's hunting for Whistler, isn't he? And that's where we pick up with Blade.
Oh, well, I think that was the other good thing. Like, it started with Nomak, and he had a good action sequence. He had a good action sequence and also showed his character where he first tricked the vampires into thinking he was a homeless person, and then he turned on them and like took them out, and he's like, oh shit, this guy's an actual badass and he's smart. And then you went straight into Blade's action sequence. So within the first sort of 8 minutes, you get 2 really good action sequences, but also tell you a lot. Like, you find out that he's searching for Whistler.
Remind me, he's in. Where do we start with Blade? I've got my notes, but is he?
He's taking down those. He takes down those bikers,
the motorbike guys. Yeah,
and he has some cool deaths in there. And holy fuck! Like when I saw this just reminded me instantly why the first Blade movie was good. Wesley Snipes can pose.
Yes, he can.
He knows the move. Like this is before Marvel comic book movies and all the movies you had before were very sort of cheeses 90s one. These were just he had these sort of perfect comic book poses.
Well, GDT, I watched I'm just going to call it GDT. I watched a little documentary about the making of Blade 2, and GDT was talking about how when he was making Blade 2, he wanted it to be a mix of anime, Japanese and Chinese cinema and video games. And he was like, it was heavily influenced. I'm not going to do the voice. Just because it wouldn't do service to his quality voice. But he was talking about how video games were a massive influence and how Hollywood didn't really want to hear about it, but they showed a clip of some video game. I'm not familiar with it. But it had the main character jumping off a roof as it followed them down, doing like an open-armed crucifix Christ pose dive.
That sounds like Assassin's Creed, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was before Assassin's Creed, so I'm not sure what it was.
but it showed that clip next to that initial dive that Wesley Snipes does, and it looked just the same. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, those action scenes where he dives out the window and then takes out a guy, and then it's all really good. It's all like, don't get me wrong, there's some absolutely cheese. Like we already passed the introduction, there's a line that says, "Forget what you think you know." Oh, God, just balls cheese. But then it comes into this
balls
sweet
cheese,
cheese balls,
cheese balls.
But then it comes into this sweet action scene. Like you've got a really good action scene, some really cheesy ham-fisted intro, really sweet action scene again, and I don't know. I forgot what I was trying to say.
So we have the intro scene. He meets the guy with the feather boa, who's got the beard. He takes his helmet off with the bike wheel. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he says he's going to pick him up later, and I'm sure we'll come back to that part later. But it sets Blade up as this vampire hunter, this bad man. But also, we see our first scene of CGI Blade in the fight scenes, which was a recurring thing throughout this film. Hobo, how did you feel about?
Well, considering from what I know of GDT, Del Toro, I mean, he's a big fan of he's a big fan of practical effects. So it was really surprising to see this, but I think it's clear that he had a vision of stuff that he wanted to do and what was practical. And this was in his early days. So I think at this point, he had only really made Mimic.
Yeah.
I think that's the only movie I knew of his.
Yeah. What, Guillermo? So American movies? Because I know...
Yeah, he made some other movies, but like big movies that I would have seen at that point. Mimic was a big... I know he made some like Was it Spanish?
Yeah. Well, he's from Mexico, isn't he?
Yeah.
So Mexican films, Kronos, or Kronos, I never know how to
Yeah,
say it,
yeah,
Devil's
yeah.
Backbone, and there's another one that I can't remember. I just forget the
I
name
remember
of
the
it.
first time I had the drink Devil's Backbone. So I was like, I know that.
GDT?
Yeah.
And then you did an impression of his voice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I did. No, I'm not. But yeah, no. So I forgot what I was trying to say. There is movies.
So Blade's gone, and he, at this point, does he find Whistler in that tank?
Yeah. So he finds Whistler, takes him out, a buff Chris Christopherson.
Yeah,
Like,
he is. He's in good shape.
he was like almost 70 at that point, and he was.
Yeah, he's pretty sexy.
Yeah.
So he's the father figure. We assume he's dead from the first one because, well, why wouldn't he be?
Yeah. No, he was. It didn't look like they'd bitten him properly. It looked like they just punctured him a load of times and he's bleeding everywhere. It's a really cool scene where he's just wiping away with blood and it keeps coming.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a really fucking...
It's all sticky.
Yeah, it's like, fuck. And then he's like, give me a gun, I'm going to kill you myself sort of thing.
So are we assuming that he just bottled it?
No, he did it. But I believe... Well, this is weird. I believe he turned, but then they took his body...
But
And then
his
they put
gun will have had those like garlic or silver bullets.
Good point,
in.
actually.
So I think he bottled it. I think Whistler just fired in the air, bottled it, and was like, I can't do it.
I thought he did it, but it was right at that point where he was half turned, half not. And so he was able to turn, but then they took him before he fully turned, put him in a state. It's all very unique circumstances,
Yeah.
but so is Blade.
Blade doesn't just do normal bullets. Those
No,
bullets in that
they
will have
were
been
silver.
vampire killing
Yeah.
ones. So he's found Whistler at this point, and he takes him back to is it a new layer? I feel like it doesn't look like the first one.
Yeah, it
and,
looks-
and this is where we're introduced to Scud.
Josh, you mean?
Josh?
Hey, my name's Josh, but everyone calls me Scud.
Is that what he says? Oh God! Played by Norman Reedus from Walking Dead.
The guy who hasn't changed his look in about 10 plus
He
years.
looks the same.
Literally the same. Like, he's like the Keanu Reeves of looking like a... I don't even know how to describe his look. He's kind of hillbilly, but with like an emo hair.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But I went from like, because I used to watch Walking Dead quite often. I'm not a big fan of it anymore, but I went from, hey, Norman Reedus to, oh, Norman Reedus in about 30 seconds. He was fucking shit from the get-go. He was terrible. Like, his lines were awful. And then you get this interplay between him and Chris Christopherson, calling him Skid. That's a good burn.
Skid. It's good. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I think that he just set himself up for that. My name's Josh, but people call... Who have you ever known in your life? Like, tells you their real name and then says, but this is my nickname. You either tell them your just nickname like it's your normal name, or you tell them your normal name, and then when they hear your nickname, go, yeah, everyone calls me that. Like
You're the Hobo. Like,
Yeah.
You've not got any other names. You don't have a normal name. You're
Yeah.
just the Hobo.
you don't hear Cher saying, oh, my name used to be this, but people call me Cher.
I used to be called Phil, but now they call me Cher.
But now I believe in being called Cher.
So we pick it up there then, and we've now got Whistler's not happy with the fact that Scud, is
Josh.
like easing in on his territory. And is this where Blade gets the call up from? We get that fight sequence in front of the Godlights, don't we? Where the Nisa and Cat from Red Dwarf, Danny John Jules.
Oh, yeah, the cat.
Yeah.
I fucking loved that he was in this movie.
Yeah, I did. He didn't get much though, did he?
No, he was underutilized, like massively wasted, because he was really good. But this floodlight scene was the first one where, I mean, I guess I could tell at the intro, but this was the most abhorrent use of CGI in that fight scene. Because the thing is, most of that fight scene is good practical stuff.
Yeah, really good.
Really, and Guillermo del Toro, GDT, sorry, he's really good at not doing ridiculously fast-cutting action scene. He lets a lot of shots play longer than
Definitely
Michael Bay ever would.
Well, it's like, just a quick message from Catty here to say, knobheads.
Oh, that's nice.
Thanks for that, Catty.
How about you fucking join us? You shit bitch.
3 knobheads here. So the fight sequence, he does let it play out. He likes to have those long shots. The bit where Blade is like defending himself with his sword, that's a really nice scene. It feels almost like from a musical, like an Umbrella singing in the rain scene.
They've got him, and who we later find out in a moment is Nissa. Those two fight really well together. You can tell that they trained a fair bit.
But they definitely, those two look like straight out of a GDT sketchbook. Those like heads with the big eyes.
Yes, I was going to say, like, he loves those sort of goggles which have, like, aperture eyes.
Yeah, definitely.
Spider-Man now has them, but GDT was doing them ages ago.
Yeah,
he did them in Hellboy, which was pretty much straight after this movie. And he's done them in, like, another film, I feel. But yeah, he fucking loves that. And I think because, I mean, this is one of the first Blade film especially. And then, so I definitely had this one as well, was one of those DVDs that, because I had so few DVDs, I watched all the extras over and over.
Yeah, me too.
And I do remember, like, they had, like, sketches of his, and I'm pretty sure that was one of his sketches.
Yeah, he did. He did one of the sketches because he was saying that he wanted them to have, like, a ribboned, like, their midweight was going to be red ribbon, but they ditched it off for some reason.
That would look visually really good.
Yeah, it would.
I mean the black against the floodlight looked amazing, and it looked, even the CGI horribleness, it looked very anime, like what you said he wanted. And I think if they'd done a whole movie in that style, because their actions were very slightly elongated, so they were just past what a human could do, which looks great in, like, especially like hand-drawn animations and stuff. And I think if they'd just done it all in that style, it would have been great. But mixing it with live action, it showed.
Yeah, you could see. But do you know what, though? Actually, I went to see Black Panther today, talking of Marvel and a black Marvel protagonist. And I must say, the CGI Black Panther, when it didn't look that much better.
Really?
To say that it's 16 years later, when you think about that scene where at the beginning where Blade jumps off the roof and flies down and then it cuts to him.
No, that scene looked really good.
Right, okay, so back on with the film then. So the vampires, Nisa, not the convenience shop.
No.
So Spa or either Cost Cutter turns up, Cost Cutter turns up with Danny John Jules, and they're like, "Oh, dude, come on, you've got to help us." And there's a lot of the enemy of my enemy is my enemy, and that's my impression of Blade's voice in this film. By the way, the enemy of my enemy,
the enemy of my enemy.
I think you're going too gruff. He sounds like John Major in Spitting Image. It's like the enemy of my enemy.
I don't know what the age group is of our viewership, but Spitting Image is pretty old. Like, so I barely know it.
They turn up and say, "We need to recruit you. You need to come in and see my Candle Dad." Is this where they take him to see Candle Dad?
Yeah, because you've got the guy who introduces himself as a lawyer, and like, you're human, and like, barely
thing.
What the fuck? He was in a Carry-On film, that guy.
Yeah, he was. He got a different script. They should have just killed him at that point.
He shouldn't have been. What purpose did he serve for that movie?
He had very lovely blonde hair
He did.
and glasses.
Do you think he was meant to be Swedish?
He looked very Swedish, didn't he? Like Tom Green's Swedish cheese. Do you remember Tom Green's song about my bum is on the rail, called Lonely Swedish?
No.
Okay.
I
Well-
remember the sausage song, where it's got
Daddy,
sausage.
would you like some sausage? Daddy. Well, I think this guy was the lonely Swede, the lonely Swedish. So they take Blade then to see Lonely Swedish and Candlewax Face. And Candlewax guy is Costcutter's dad. And he's like,
Wait, Candlewax Face, are you on about the Domus? I wrote it down.
don't tell me you know his name.
Damn, I know, I wrote it down because I knew I'd forget it.
Dan.
Dan,
Dan, is that his name?
Damaskinos.
We'll just call him Dan.
But he had like that thin, his skin looked like that thin layer of like, if you leave like custard or soup out and it gets that thin layer on, it had that very wrinkly, like weird wrinkles on him.
Oh, I fucking love custard. I love custard, man.
This is
Oh,
not
do you
a
know what? Like,
custard podcast.
I don't care. Like custard skin. Like, you know, when it goes all set on top and it goes into like a skin. When I was at school, I used to like go up and they'd be like, oh, it's got all skin on top. And I'd be like, can I have the skin? And they'd
You'd be
peel the skin off. Yeah. I'd be like, and
Like huge, like custard flapping.
yeah, just a little custard flap just hanging out of my mouth being like that. I'd like go to town on that.
Was your nickname at school Custard Boy? Like, come over here, Custard Boy.
Come and get your skin flap. And like the dinner ladies would be like, come and lick my flap. And I'd like lick the little custard flap. Yeah, I fucking loved it. Like the soft stuff underneath is good, but it's nothing like the skin.
Oh,
Little
you're a
flappy
weird.
skin.
Do you find that with anything else, like soups
No,
or
like a gravy soup, I'm like, that's disgusting. That is
But
repulsive. But
custard skin?
Oh my God. All over the flaps. All over that skin. And it's nice and shiny as well, like on the top. Just lick the top of the skin.
I don't like hearing this. I don't. I've got the headphones as well, so I hear when you go.
And do you know what? I think that's a good time to call it for part one. I'll go and put some custard on, let it set. So by part two, we've got some lovely custard skin that we can eat.
We're just wonderland custard. Custard's alright enough. Coronel yellow. Coronel yellow.
Pour on Bird's original custard and turn an afterthought into a pudding.
Hello and welcome back to part two of this Blade 2 edition of the Spoilt Milk Movie Podcast. My name's Chris Hammond and we've got the Hobo with us as always. But no Catty. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it this time. I think this time she has actually got her head stuck somewhere where she couldn't get it out of. So we've been talking about...
Her head stuck where the sun don't shine.
We've been talking about Blade 2 and how Blade's been... Pete Blade has been introduced into this world, and then he meets a gang of ne'er-do-wells, a bunch of vampires who he's going to join along the way. Did they have a name for this group?
So he gets introduced to a gang of vampires that are going to help him take down the bad guys, the Reapers, which are these badass version of vampires that hunt vampires. And the gang is called the Blood Pack.
The Blood Pack.
Yeah,
I
and
completely forgot about
They've been training for 2 years.
Yeah.
And do you remember why they've been
Yes, to catch him.
Who's him?
Pete Blade, or whatever. Phil Blade, Sonia Blade.
Sonia Blade's lad,
Yeah.
Blade. Just,
So they've been after Blade, haven't they?
yeah.
But they're a little bit shit at that. So they're like, come on, Blade, come and join our gang. If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club. And then he joins in to hunt the Reapers.
No, not Reapers.
Yeah, that's who they're hunting.
No, they're called... Oh, they're not called Reapers, are they? No.
Yeah, they are.
Why can't I find my... You've just overtaken my brain.
The thingy Goss from Bros.
Yeah.
The guy from Bros.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Reapers, aren't
Okay,
they?
Reapers. I don't know why then. My brain just triggered saying Reapers is something else.
So we've not really talked about Luke Goss from Bros.
No, good old Brosso. Isn't this? We've talked about Luke Goss and Bros before, haven't we?
We have on a previous podcast, on one of the Mutual Handshake podcasts, one of our old ones. But it's a first time for Spoilt Milk. He's a Spoilt Milk virgin, shall we say?
What was the film that he's been on before?
He's in Hellboy 2.
Yes,
He
Brosso.
plays, old Luke Goss. His brother, the other Goss from Bros, isn't really doing much, but they join up with the Blood Pack with Ron Perlman, Donnie Yen, pretty much playing the same character as he does in Rogue One.
Well, no, I feel he's used much better in Rogue One.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel
like this is what he wanted to be.
Yeah, Donnie Yen. If you haven't seen things like, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Ip Man or Yip Man.
Oh yeah, I thought it was IP Man.
No, I thought it was like the characters, the character the guy's based off is Yip or Ip or.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know how you actually meant to pronounce it, but I don't think it's initialized at all. That's a good sound.
Right.
Yeah, so like he's a great martial artist. He's a really good actor as well. But I mean, this is the early days, and he's underutilized in this, underutilized in a lot of films. He's utilized somewhat better in Rogue One because he actually gets a bit more to his character, but he doesn't do too much of his fighting style. He does do a little bit of this, but
he does in this, doesn't he?
But Yen is like the standout in this, but doesn't get used.
But he's part of this like blood pack where everyone seems to have like a signature thing. So we've got the red-haired lady, we've got the curly-haired man, the bald man with the beard.
Oh, the Irish guy, priest,
I think he's called. The tattoo-faced man.
Face, yeah.
I think everyone's got something.
They look like they're out of the band Rammstein. They look like the one. They went to a lot of Rammstein gigs, and then
So Blade joins Rammstein.
Yeah.
That's what it should be called. Blade 2, Blade joins Rammstein.
Bang!
Ich will. So he joins them. They go on their first hunt to that nightclub, the name of which, House of Pain?
Yep.
So they go to House of Pain. A cracking soundtrack in there. Lots of stereotypical rock kind of people. I did like the back peeling.
Oh, yeah, because it was kind of the extension of, in like a lot of that time as well, there's really hyping up all this sort of goth
piercings
and it was an extension of that essentially. I thought the music in this particular scene was a bit too techno-y than I liked.
Yeah, but this was very much post-Matrix, whereas the first one, it has the scene at the beginning, the first Blade film where they go to the blood bath or whatever, and it's like
I think that was Oxide and Neutrino, wasn't it?
I think that was before.
Oh, okay.
But this one has a cracking Ronnie Size song, something Wild Wild West, Child of the Wild West.
Are you saying they played Wicka Wicka Wow? Wicka Wicka Wow Wow West, Jim West, the Desperado?
It's a Ronnie Size song with the guy from Cypress Hill, and it's a proper quality song. But they go there and they have a big fight off, don't they? Luke Goss has been spreading his Reaper gene or whatever, creating some more of the Reapers.
Yeah.
And they have a big fight off. They lose Priest. We don't need to go into much detail. The curly-headed fuck dies.
But I like the fact that I thought it would have been really nice if they explored it further. Priest has one line that just says, "Oh, look at all these. Half of them aren't even pure blood."
Yeah.
And then we have like the shit Matt Damon. Chupa. There's one of the blood. One of the blood pack is called Chupa. But he looks like a shit 90s Matt Damon.
Yeah,
he's got like little
steroids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's got like cool blonde tips in his hair.
Cool.
I use the term cool ironically. And he's like, yeah, we should just kill them all. And you feel like those two maybe are like, if you followed those two characters, they were extremists in vampire lore. They didn't care about all these turned
Priest and Chupa.
Yeah, but
Maybe
yeah.
they could have been the new Cheech and Chong.
Is that a throwback to the drug
To
trip?
the drug reference. Thank you, Pete Daykin. So they meet. There's a big fight. Priest gets killed off. The big guy with the tattooed face gets bitten but hides about it. I'm not really sure why.
I'm not sure how either, because he's wearing like
A leather vest?
Essentially a leather vest
Yeah.
for weapons, but
Or
he's got a big, we don't know, he may be an animal rights
Yeah,
activist.
he might be a vegan. Vegan vamps.
But yeah, he's got a big, like, gaping wound on his neck, and he just kind of tucks it. He just went, by the way, don't look at that. And then later it's like gushing with his orange goo, and no one seems to mention it.
Yeah, no one does seem to mention it. Like, the lady's in front of him, and he's like, no, I didn't get bitten. It's got some fingernails in my back. Really good, again, I mean, GDT with his practical effects. The good, like, fingernails in the back bit is pretty
And
good.
it was horrific, that bit when he got bit. It felt like a real violation. Like, it was like, because of all people, well, no one wanted to be bit. You saw all the other deaths before this, they were gory, like blood splattered everywhere, always looked amazing. But it was always just like it happened, where this was he spent time with it, and he dug in his hands first, and the guy couldn't escape. This big, strong, muscly guy with tattoos all over his face couldn't escape. It was actually quite hard to watch in a good way. Yeah. That sounds weird to say.
And again, more good practical effects. And I mean, we'll continue with like the plot of the film, because it kind of goes from one action sequence into the next, which actually I felt like I needed a break from it. It went from the House of Pain scene straight into the sewers. And I was a bit like, I needed some time away.
Yeah.
I felt like that was story-wise a bad plot decision to go straight into the sewers. But they go down into the sewers then. We'll cover that bit. And they've got these light grenades. We've seen Scud. We don't need to cover it too much, but Scud's created some light grenades with Whistler while they're bonding a bit more. And then they go down to the sewers and they have a longer fight then. And we start to lose some of the other characters, don't we?
Yeah, now that you mention it, well, certain parts of the sewer scene I didn't mind. You could have really cut out all that section of it, achieved what you needed from the nightclub scene in the movie, where you kill off a load of characters, but you capture the one Reaper that they dissect later on. Yeah. And also you get the information to Whistler, who provides it later on. But then you could have used that time you cut out to give backstory to all these other characters. Like, it was a good, like, 5...
Or build up some more of a relationship between Blade and Costcutter, because that was very much like Nisa and Blade. That was very much like forced on us. Like,
she had those very sexy umlaut eyebrows as well. Do you notice?
Two
little dots,
little dots on
so
there.
she's like, you think it's called Nisa? No, the umlauts on the eyebrows means it's called Nissa. That's
so maybe she's more of like a Swedish, like an IKEA.
Yeah, exactly. She's the IKEA of the Blade world.
So do you think the sewer sequence is purely just to knock off a few characters, build up as well the relationship between Ron Perlman and Wesley Snipes, the real characters, Reinhold, is it? And
Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold, and Blade and their distrust.
I love when Whistler calls him fucking nipplehead. That was one of the... I think I wrote down the exact...
Well, there were loads of crazy lines in this, like, suck puppy's nut juice. There's a bit where someone talked about suck puppy's nut juice. Whistler said, "You're one."
No, that was shit, Matt Damon.
Oh, was it? You're one cunt hair away from hillbilly heaven.
Yeah,
like
shit, Matt Damon talking to Whistler because didn't he say like, dollface, you're gonna need some sun cream. And Matt Damon turns around and goes, "You're one cunt." I missed it. Like, it was only a couple of seconds after. I was like, "What the fuck did he just say?" He just said cunt hair. But this is a beauty of Blade coming out with no expectations of and being an R-rated movie, because it's like, yeah, fuck it, we barely spent anything on it. doing so well. Essentially what we can maybe expect from Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
Because an R-rated movie did that well as the first Blade did. They had an R-rated movie in the bag. You can say fucking cunt hair in that.
Yeah.
But there is something towards the end of the movie that I do need to point out that they couldn't get past an R rating.
Right. Okay.
But yeah,
Well, at this point, we're in the sewers. We lose Donnie Yen. Again, he wasn't really established that well, but we lose Donnie Yen. We lose Danny John Jules. Again, not so established. The big tattoo face guy turns, so I think he kills Donnie Yen.
Yeah,
and the red-haired lady.
So Donnie Yen got
sacrifices.
one sweet action sequence in the House of Pain, and then you're like, oh well, he's going to get a really badass sequence, and then he get killed off camera, and then tattoo face and redhead lady who were dating. I mean, she has a nice. I kind of wish a bit more character time went to them because she kills herself to kill him.
Yeah, which was quite nice.
It was a nice moment, but you feel if you just had at least a minute or two extra of those two characters, it would have been even better. It would have been.
But this is why when you watch the film, when you look at them and you're thinking, right, she's got red hair, he's got a tattoo, he's Asian, he's bald. With a little tracking device on the back of his head. He's got curly hair. It felt like these guys aren't fleshed out characters, so we're going to give them a look. We're from the point of them coming in, forming the blood pack or whatever, where Blade, I was going to call him Jade, Blade joins, to them getting killed off was about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You didn't really get to know any of them. And then they're done. I mean, I feel like we don't need to spend
Cat
much
dies
time.
as well in the...
Yeah, Danny John Jules just gets binned off.
Underused.
Nisa Costcutter survives the light scene by going underwater. Who knew? And then I think we're getting towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
So we end up in a very similar situation to the first one where they're trying to harvest Blade. They're trying to take his blood... they've got him strapped to a table. They pierce through his skin, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah. But not too different from the first, like you said, not too different. Like the first one was very much.
Yeah.
Piercing through his skin and getting his. Because up until this point, it felt they had deviated from the original format of just let's get his blood. And it's like, oh, this is interesting. This is vampires scared of reapers. And you get this interesting character, Nomak, where you're trying to understand his motivations, and as it comes to light, his motivations are the fact that he's been created, and he's been created like a crack addict, where he can't not go without blood, and after a certain period, he gets massive cravings, and if he doesn't satisfy that craving, then he will drain and die. It's not just he'll be able to get over it. He will actually die and lose energy and just be dead. He's got this virus in him. And you're like, oh, that's really good. And then you get taken to the vampire headquarters. They capture Blade because they think they've stopped everyone. And they just start draining his blood again.
And it goes back into that blood draining scene. And this is where we get the double crossing from Scud. Scud, who's kind of been a bit of a peripheral character, comes in every so often, says, you know what, Blade, I'm not with you, I've been marked. Doesn't he show his...
Yeah, he's got a tattoo under his lip.
Again, very much like Black Panther. I feel like
Black Panther,
they've got the tattoos on the lip.
That's how you get into the Wakanda, isn't it? Fuck.
I feel like they've copied quite a lot.
Yeah. Wait, is that only Michael B. Jordan?
No, his
everyone
dad has it.
Okay, so that's where they always go.
Yeah.
I didn't know if his was hidden or not.
Yeah, so tattooed lip, copied from Blade 2.
Yeah.
So he reveals himself to be a double-crossing little snake. And that's the point where Ron Perlman had a little explosive device in his head that Blade controlled, and when Blade presses it at this point where he's fucked by everyone, turns out it's a dud. So Ron Perlman takes it out, gives it to Norman Reedus, aka Josh, aka Scud, aka Skid. Skid.
Yeah. And he's like, it was a dud. I've been on the inside all the time. And there's a good bit where he's like, I knew you was on the inside all the time, which flashes back to when he talked to Whistler.
Yeah.
He said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And in the background is Scud, Skid, Josh, Reedus. And I was like, that's a really, when you think about it, that's a really nice framing. Like, because he says it, and as he says it, he leans and shows, like, Reedus in the background. But the stupid thing, and then Blade presses the button, because he says, I knew you were someone. What the fuck was that?
That's my Blade voice.
Sounds like you had a frog in your throat.
That's what he sounds like. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. That's what he sounds like.
But yeah, so he presses it and he blows up Skid, Scud, Josh, all at the same time, which I found very fucking stupid. Because if he knew it was a dud the entire time, why don't you just keep it in Reinhold's head, who was the bigger fucking threat than
like an actual vampire, and just killed the little dweeby dude.
He could have
Little
spat
stoner.
in Scud's face and killed him for all fucking... It was the stupidest...
Yeah.
It was, don't get me wrong, it was a cool moment.
Yeah.
But it was
then we
stupid.
get to have sets up the fight with Reinhold. And we don't have to say much about the fight. There's a lot of fighting in this film, a lot of CGI fighting. And then he finishes by cutting him from balls to head, which is pretty cool. And he slides in half, and that looks good. Again, for a 16-year-old film, that CGI when he cuts him in
holds
half,
up as fuck.
Yeah, really good. And then we go right into the last bit then. So, Nisa. So Nisa finds out earlier that her dad is Waxy Guy. Yeah. And she finds out...
She already knew...
She finds out that
Damaskino was her dad. She always knew that was her dad.
But she finds out that Luke Goss from Bros
is Jared from Subway.
Yeah. And then they have this like weird ending then. So
so what's his Nomak breaks into this big unbreakable thing, which I only bring this up. It's not generally relevant, except for the fact there's a bit where he breaks in, kills all these guards, managed to eat a load of them and not get killed. He takes his time eating them. Another stupid thing. But also, he breaks into a point to get to Luke Goss, Bros, big vampire bad guy, and Nicer. And they get into a lift, and the doors close right as he gets to it.
I hate it when that happens. If that's like bad lift etiquette.
But
if someone's coming to the lift, you should press the
doors
open.
They actually keep it in shot. There's literally a button that you can press, and I think all he had to do was press that, and the doors would open.
He could have just pressed the button and be like, but he let
and they're like, this is awkward. Like,
well, he probably doesn't know much about lifts.
Yeah, true.
So it gets to the end scene, and Nisa, cost cutter, spa, netto, whatever her name is, she offers herself up. After Blade's given her his blood, she offers herself up to Luke Goss. She's like, I want to be a groupie of Bros. When will I be famous? She offers herself up to Luke Goss for some weird reason. She has a proper flippant change. And then...
I know she has this whole arc with Blade of, he's actually honourable, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they were trying for the fact that all this time she thought Blade was a villain, and it turns out he's actually a good guy, and she admires him, so maybe she thought the same of Bros, Luke Goss, Nomak Ryan from... Jared from Subway. Yeah. But it felt really random and forced and a bit... like, that arc for her was a bit trash.
Yeah, and do you know what, actually, just to round up the whole film, because I'm gonna very quickly, Luke Goss kills Wax Guy, turns him into a proper candle.
Yeah.
Kills his dad. Blade kills Luke Goss. How does he do that again? Remind me.
The thing is, they have this really good moment where Luke Goss Nomak takes out his dad, and then there's a bit with Nicer and them two like come together, and she just lets him eat her. And it was very almost like a lot of a couple of like Shakespearean plays where it's a very family drama, and I was like, I'm really into this. This is really good. And if anything, I thought they should have saved, rather than redhead taking out tattoo face, self-sacrifice. They should have saved the self-sacrifice for Nissa to go like, this is like essentially a family matter, and Nomak to essentially be like he is at the end of the film, like, I understand this, and this makes sense now, and it kind of takes out the family bloodline, and it is a very personal thing. Because Blade got his big fight with Reinhardt, I say big, but he got a big climax, and it was good. I don't think you needed that by the end. I think you needed this end of this nice family story, because it turns out this whole movie is about the big bad Damaskino vampire had created Nomak by accident, trying to fix it, and tried to pretend it didn't happen and tell it. It was very much a classic story, and it could have ended in a classic way, but they didn't. And then they just tacked on a Blade fighting end, and he shoves a bit of his sword through his heart, because they mentioned in the autopsy that if you get it right in the angle, it helps, and it gets a bit there, and then Nomak's staggering around, and then he goes, you know what, it doesn't hurt anymore, and then just jams the rest of it into his heart. Very beautiful ending. I love that. I did like that, but I just felt it was misplaced to have Blade be the one who puts that in. It should have been Nissa.
But it was unearned, and that's what a lot of this film felt like. Some of the scenes he didn't earn that relationship. We didn't earn that. So then Nissa's dying, and Blade grabs her and takes her upstairs to see a sunrise, like Black Panther.
Yeah. Oh shit. Fuck.
Yeah, I'm only just realising this now. Yeah, where he takes Killmonger up to see the sunrise or sunset or whatever. And then she dies, and then we get this tacked on London ending where Blade goes and meets the feather boa guy. And kills him.
We didn't mention at the start. Yeah.
We did. We spoke about him and said that we'd come back to it later.
Yeah, but we didn't say exactly what he said.
What
so
did he say?
That guy helps him find Whistler, and he says like, "Oh, I'll keep you alive if you do it." And then when he helps him find Whistler, Whistler, he lets him go, but does like a side glance and go, "Get you later." Get you later.
Do you know what? Right, I think at this point we've discussed the main points of the film.
Yeah.
Hobo, what are you thinking about the film? Are you putting it into... Are you going to say that this film is spoilt milk? Or are you going to say that it's ascended into a fine, luxurious cheese?
It's hard because it's got a lot of GDT in it. It's got a lot of good and a lot of nice moments, but it's also got a lot of cheese. It's very early 2000s cheese that you can't forgive because it's clearly copied from... Because I don't forgive, like... stereotypes and things when they've clearly just copied something from that era and they've not tried to do anything. It's a bit lazy. And yeah, I thought the ending I feel the ending is always a thing that makes a film. And I don't think the ending nailed it. But I'm gonna have to say no.
Oh dear.
Can I refer it back to you and then...
Right, okay then. Well, I felt like I felt like they could have taken out the blood pack, all of them from the film, just had a more concentrated story on Nissa, Blade, Luke Goss. They all felt like they needed more to those characters.
Yeah.
But they spent this big portion of the film in the sewers and in the House of Pain concentrating on these little... nothing haircut tattoo characters, which was a real shame because I think at the heart of it there was some really good ideas about family and whether it's about like unwanted siblings or unwanted children or like father's love and where it goes. I thought those ideas were really good. Some of the sets when they went down to Waxy Head's like world were really nice. But there was a lot of like just drab dross, Luke Goss, Bros stuff in the middle. But it's GDT, and I've got to say, I'm going to say that it's ascended into a fine, luxurious cheese, even if it's just for the dissecting scene alone, where they dissect that vampire. That looked fucking brilliant. Like, those practical effects were
still amazing today.
Yeah.
You could put that in, like, if that feels straight out of, and from what he said, like an anime film that he wanted to go for, and you could put that in now and it would be spot on. Yeah,
that bit, the mouth, the way that it peeled open, the insides looked amazing. And, it's flawed, massively flawed, but it's good, and for its time, I think it deserves, for me personally, to be a fine, luxurious cheese. So I'm gonna say it's a fine cheese. So what are you thinking?
I was tempted to say yes, and then I thought, no, there's a lot of bad. But then listening to you talk about even considering the bad stuff, and talk about, no, I'm gonna have to agree. I just because I don't want Catty to have to chime in with a. Shitty voice messages. Yeah. Like, I'm a little shit bitch. That's not a decision, Kate. You can't.
Well, that's the end of episode 10, where we've discussed Blade 2. We've done a live stream tonight for the first time ever. Let us know what you think about it. You can contact us on @SpoiltMilkPod. And thank you. Thank you, Hobo.
Thank you.
And good night.